So here we are, and we've had a general election in Britain, and what a surprise! We've had our own Donald Trump, our own dear version of Donald Trump, Boris Johnson, elected as our Prime Minister. God bless his heart. And what an amazing result. It just was extraordinary. A wipeout for Jeremy Corbyn. I felt so sorry for the guy because the press has tried to crucify him, especially over some of these issues, like the whole business of the Jewish issue. It's so unfair, actually. Nonetheless, he's a wally when it comes to dealing with that matter. He took 10 months to deal with some complaints of anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. But, God, Lord, ridiculous. So given the focus on the issue, and these issues are really sensitive. But that said, there was no need for the chief rabbi to come out the way he did in the run-up to the election. Disgraceful, actually. Shameful, what the chief rabbi did. Not appropriate, not in the days before the election. But is that an issue? No, it wouldn't have changed things in not one iota, really, to be honest, would it? And so because the whole issue of the crazy level of spending that Labour was going in for, and the crazy spendthrift policies, but a lot of them were very good. Renationalise the rail, we wanted that in Britain. The rail service is atrocious, and Britain has the highest priced railway tickets in the world, in the entire world. There's nowhere else in the world with higher priced railway tickets than in Britain. So, this is silly little trivial matters, but a lot of things we were on the same page as Jeremy Corbyn, the wonderful Jeremy Corbyn, same initials as Jesus Christ, JC, all the way, but when it came to the election, he screwed up over one issue, didn't he, really? And not because he was a red, not because the Jewish community were offended by his failure to deal adequately with the anti-Semitism issue. No, the reason Jeremy Corbyn lost was because of Brexit, because his position meant fence-sitting and another year or two while we went through another referendum. And Mr. Cummings, the wonderful PR man of Boris Johnson, got his three-way phrase out there, get Brexit done, and everybody loved it. Everybody wanted it because we are sick and tired of the prevarication of Parliament, which has proved itself incompetent in Britain. And we wanted a swathe of... Well, we wanted to punish Parliament. We wanted to punish those incompetent MPs, and they deserved everything they got, really. So that was the long and the short of it. But what a thing. And now what's he going to do, this boykin of ours, the brand new Boris? Well, as we know, and as I've said before, Dominic Cummings has his agenda. Now, Dominic Cummings, whether he gets his agenda is another thing. But Dominic Cummings wants to abolish the British Supreme Court. That's one of his biggest priorities. Now, should a PR man get involved in politics? Because Dominic is a PR man. Whatever. Everybody does. But at the end of the day, will he get his wish to abolish the Supreme Court? Of course, the Supreme Court in Britain overstepped the mark. On the Trump impeachment, the U.S. Supreme Court has deemed that the American courts cannot get involved in the impeachment issue because impeachment is a political issue. Now, the British Supreme Court unanimously decided that they could pronounce on the political issue as to whether, essentially, what amounted to as to whether a proroguing of Parliament was legal. And you get this absolute bull on British television where people will say that Boris Johnson lied to the Queen. Of course he didn't, but he pushed the limits. He pushed things to the limits a little too far. But his the judge of the arbiter of whether he had overstepped the mark was Parliament. There should have been a vote of no confidence in Parliament. Of course, the MPs were frightened to have a vote of no confidence because would have led to exactly what has just happened, a general election. But the idea that the Supreme Court gets involved in political issues was a no-no, an absolute disgrace. And those judges were disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful, and overstepped their responsibility. So, I'm with Dominic Cummings. We should abolish the Supreme Court and go back to the law lords. But whether it's a step too far for Boris, whether Boris will obey his little puppy dog, Dominic, on his pet issue, not sure. It's a big ask, but he's got this huge majority. Will he give Dominic this gift and abolish the Supreme Court, go back to the law lords? Boy, you can see the newspaper headlines. If I were Boris, I would do it. But then Boris is probably wiser than I am. The other issue, of course, is Dominic Cummings' obsession with the civil service and the need to reform and streamline the civil service. This is not a question of sacking civil servants, but you know how it is. There are too many. Civil service is top-heavy with people that can't make up their minds. There's too many chiefs, not enough Indians. So a little redistribution of power, a little cleansing of the top ranks, a little streamlining of the decision-making process. The civil service is incompetent and not fit for purpose, the British civil service. And it has made many, many gargantuan mistakes. And it does need reform. It does need reform. Everybody recognizes that. I think universally we're all on the same page as Dominic Cummings in regard to that. So his obsession with the incompetence of the British civil service and the need to streamline it will tick that box. And I'm sure Boris will, and I'm sure some good things will be done. But that's not going to really shake up the public. They're not going to be... to what degree will that affect things in the public arena? I'm not sure. We've already seen some pretty weird things going on. The appointment of the new ambassador to Kuwait was they put out adverts for that position. God, I could have applied. I didn't. But there were adverts in The Economist. Ridiculous, actually. Opening it up to outside the diplomatic service. But the diplomatic service itself needs sharpening up. Anyway, what am I saying? The point is that Boris is in. He has a new broom. He's going to do some sweeping. Yes, he'll get Brexit done, and he'll have his trade talks, and the European Union will have to jump through a few hoops. And I don't think he's going to be the patsy for trade talks with America that America perhaps thinks he is going to be. I don't think he's anybody's patsy. He's surprisingly wise, but he's not loyal. You have to look at his relationships with his women, and therefore he's weak on loyalty. He's a bed hopper. Every man would like to be a bed hopper, no doubt, but the point is that he's a public bed hopper on a major scale, so not on really. He's a disloyal man. That's a minus in everybody's estimation. So the guy is disloyal. the guy is disloyal. It was making me smile when they were interviewing him. He was asked how many children he had, and he wouldn't answer. I mean, yes. His Wikipedia entry says at least 4, I think, or something. Anyway, crazy. Honestly. But there you go. So Boris is Boris. We're glad to see him, I think, on balance, as long as he gets things moving. He has a mandate that's sweeping. He has a member of parliament for every day of the year, 365 Conservative MPs, an 80-seat majority. I mean, this is almost unheard of. Due largely not to an increase in the Conservative vote, but a collapse in the Labour vote, and God bless us all. And then Joe Swinson, the Liberal, the Liberal Party should have picked up piles of votes. Where I was thinking, I mean, it would have done if it had kept its old leader, but sadly for the Liberal Party, they choose a new leader at this critical time, and you have to blame the old leader for that. But never mind. And Joe Swinson came in, and she was weak as water, and proved herself such. Poor dab. And she's paid for it. She even lost her own seat. Oh, so embarrassing. So humiliating for the Liberal Party. But it is what it is, and that's life. You pay in politics. And the British public are enjoying punishing their politicians. So there you go. Watch out, Boris. It's not a safe horse you're riding, but you do have 5 years to enjoy it, and nobody can take it away from you for now. So enjoy. God bless Boris Johnson. God bless the British people. And God bless the next 5 years. It's going to be interesting, wouldn't you say?